This is Don't Panic, episode number 240, recorded April 22nd, 2019. Squashed beef. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Don't Panic, the technology podcast on gadgets, on the internet, on you. I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by two guys who will break if you fold them in half. It's Colby Rabidou and Dan Bell.
You know, that has not been proven.
We can do that.
That's true.
We can
Also, how often do we talk about you?
We don't talk about the you part of it as much.
No. I think we need to change that.
Just do a whole episode where we only talk about our listeners.
We address the listeners directly, and we only talk about them.
Or we could just change the slogan to Gadgets, the Internet, and Us.
Oh,
that is more accurate.
The internet and ourselves.
See, I was going to say we could do on Gadgets, the Internet, and whatever Apple announced this week. That's probably pretty accurate. Yeah. Good, we're back.
We're back.
Making it happen. What would you guys like to say to the people out there? Speak directly to the people. What would you like to say? Now's your chance. This is it. Floor's open.
I think we need to have a segment. If we were to do this, we would need to have a segment that focuses on everyday issues.
Speak to the common man.
Stuff that everybody faces. Not necessarily stuff that only the common man faces, but stuff that literally everyone has to deal with. And
like setting up an email server.
Setting up an email server.
That was...
You know, you're using an email server whether you know it or not. There's a server somewhere. Cleaning ovens? I guess rich people don't have to clean their ovens.
Yeah, what do normal people do? I don't know. We're so elitist.
It's tough to think of something that everyone. I mean, eating. I feel like we've talked a fair bit about eating. There's been some food related picks. We've gone deep on breakfast.
Have you guys eaten anything new recently?
No, but next time I'm on the program, I'll be able to talk about some new stuff that I've eaten.
Okay, that's stellar tease.
Yeah. New stuff that I've eaten recently. I had my first ever, kitchen meltdown. It wasn't a meltdown. I had to start dinner over last Friday. I just had to, start it over. I was making risotto, and I burned the rice, and the shit was already in there, so I just started all over again. Ate dinner at 12:30.
Shit, dog.
But it was fine.
Yeah, risotto's a lot of time.
You know, It really isn't if I wasn't so anal retentive about all the ingredients and measuring things and double, triple, quadruple, quintuple checking to no avail.
And subsequently not anal retentive about burning.
Yeah. And subsequently not dexterous enough to handle the other things that need handling. I don't know. I haven't eaten anything new. How about you, Colby?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Here's the thing that everyone has to deal with. We all need to charge our phones, and sometimes you just can't find, there's just not a charger where you want it to be.
Can I bring a tech-related topic to the discussion here?
Yes.
Am I the only one who has had wild inconsistencies in his Apple Watch power supply?
Apple Watch. Go on.
Hang with me here. So, a month ago, I was having an issue where my Apple Watch always said it was 100% charged. I would use it for a whole day, still 100% charged. It never said 99. It always said 100% charged. Once I put it on the charger, then it would show the actual, this is how much you have there. But anytime I looked on the watch, it said it was 100%. It did this for 2 months. Then there was a watchOS update. And then my watch started draining power like crazy. So now I used to get a day and a quarter, a day and a half of charge, and now I get half a day or 3/4 of a day. And I'm not any more active than I was I don't know what could
No.
possibly be using more power. It's very bizarre.
It sounds very bizarre.
But it would drive me crazy because I would never know when to charge the watch because it would always say 100%.
I have never had that happen. I do feel that my Apple Watch's charging rate has gone down over time. But it right now...
Like
it's
it
at
charges
68%.
slower, you mean?
Yeah, I feel like I leave it charging in the morning for roughly the same amount of time. There are two amounts of time that I'll leave it charging for. While I'm taking a shower and I don't shave, and then while I take a shower and I do shave. And it seems like in the course of a week, if I don't take it off at night to charge it, I'll end up in a situation where I'm at like 10% by the end of the day because it just can't recover enough in those 20, 30 minutes that I charge it. Whereas before, I felt like I used to do that. Mm-hmm. But no, Sean, I haven't had that particular problem.
Is that relatable?
I think it's pretty relatable.
Okay.
I think everyone can relate to charging problems.
Everyone can relate to charging problems. I feel like everyone can relate to traffic problems because even if you're not doing the driving, you're still upset by the traffic. You might be unreasonably upset.
Yeah, I did something out of character this week. I rented a car for Easter weekend travel.
Do you even remember how to drive?
Apparently, yes. Traffic was horrific. But it happened. I did not crash, which was exciting. I perfectly timed my gas usage because they gave me the car with only half a tank of gas. And so I was only required to return it with half a tank of gas. But apparently I filled up at exactly the right moment.
Why is that?
Because when I got back to the car place, there was exactly half a tank of gas.
Oh, bravo. Now, are either of you the kind of people who try to like get specific numbers when you're filling up your car with gas? No.
I never understood that.
Like you want to get it a round number. You want to get like a multiple of 5.
Oh. I definitely used to do that sometimes, but I've been out of the game so long.
I think that makes sense if you pay cash and you're like, put $20 on the thing and you're like, I'm going to get my full $20. But if you're paying with a card, I don't understand people who do that.
Doesn't it just stop if you don't do that? Like if you try to go over your 20, doesn't it just click off at 20?
I suppose that's true, but then I guess they're like, but they don't want to do it like, yeah, I guess.
How do they do that? Is there some way I could be doing that too? Would that ruin the magic if there was a way you just type in like I want to spend $20?
It might ruin the magic for you, but you could use that to show off to someone else.
It's true. Like if I could do it without them noticing that I did something.
Right.
I bet you could if there's an attendant there, like some gas stations have, and you can probably give them a card and say, I only want $20 worth.
Yeah. One thing I've always wondered about is how the auto shutoff works. Like, how does it know?
That was there's an Onion article I remember that was really great, and the headline was a play on scientists convene for 35th annual science convention to figure out how gas things know how to finish. I had pictures of scientists trying to figure it out. It was very funny, and I'm like, that is a good one. That is a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder every time.
I don't know.
It's like,
there's some mysteries of science that cannot be explained.
It's just magic.
So, we skipped a week.
We did. No show last week.
So, we must have some pretty bitchin' tech news to talk about.
I mean, there are certainly a lot of stories in the rundown. Are they worth talking about? You be the judge. While you guys are choosing our first story here, I want to thank everybody who's joining us live right now on the internet at facebook.com/Don't Panic Show and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Don't Panic Show. You can join us live Monday nights at about 10:15 Eastern. Follow us on Twitter for an alert when we go live at Don't Panic Show. And if you're watching live, thank you. Be sure to comment on those respective sites I just listed. We'll read it and we'll talk about it. So where are we going to begin, guys? Biggest story of the 2 weeks.
Rest in peace, BBM.
Of course, the biggest story. That's right. We do love our defunct technologies here on the show, and put another gravestone in the cemetery. BlackBerry Messenger shutting down in May. Now, just the consumer version. Apparently, Indonesia-based media conglomerate Mtek took over its development in 2016, but they couldn't keep it running. Apparently, they bloated it quite badly with games and channels and ads and all sorts of crazy stuff. Now that it's being shut down, BlackBerry is making its enterprise-grade encrypted BBM available for personal use. The encrypted version is available now on Android devices, including BlackBerry's. I don't know if they're still selling them. They're BlackBerry devices for a $249 for a 6-month subscription moving forward. So. The free consumer version of BlackBerry Messenger is dead. Were you guys ever BlackBerry users?
No.
Okay.
I skipped the BlackBerry and went straight to the iPhone. I had dumb phones until I had an iPhone.
Good days. Good days back in the BBM days.
Now, I have a question. If BBM will be defunct once it shuts down, does that mean right now it's funked? It's full of funked?
I guess it's pro-funked.
Pro-funked.
Funkedful?
Anti-funked?
Anti-funked. Well, that would be if you didn't like the fact that it was funked. If you wanted it killed, you would be anti-funked, because it is funked, and you're against that, so you're anti-funked.
Right.
So, to put this back on track, hearing you describe their service, I'm realizing that there could have been a play that they could have made to capitalize on this, the resurgence of privacy and encrypted communications, because they were well known for that. And if they would have come out and say, like, hey, like, here's just like a passable thing, like, it's got the BBM brand, it's encrypted end to end, and we have the experience to make you trust that, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. And then if they did the thing where it just works with phone numbers instead of having to like do all the other stuff, I think that it would have been an interesting thing to try, but I guess we'll never see it.
I think what I understand from this very short article on Engadget is that when Mtek purchased BlackBerry Messenger, they didn't get the encrypted version. BlackBerry kept the encrypted version. Now, could they have added encryption? Possibly, but all they got was just the sort of low-end consumer version, with BlackBerry hanging on to the encrypted version they were known for. So all they really, I would just guess all they bought was the name and a contacts database. I mean, that's... I don't know how much cool, awesome technology they got for purchasing this.
Yeah. That's a good point. Okay.
It is crazy when company, because who bought, not Nokia? Who bought Nokia? The Nokia name.
Microsoft.
Was that who it was?
I
but then
believe
didn't
so.
they sell it to somebody?
Yeah, I think they spun it out.
It's like those old tech, or it's like the people who bought Polaroid, the name, just the name, and now they're slapping it on all kinds of stuff. Like, it's weird how some of these old tech brand, or Palm, when HTC bought Palm, and then Palm was sold to, it's not HTC anymore. It's someone else too. I just think it's weird how these sort of old tech names sort of just get bought and sold and slapped on things, and I guess they hold some sort of value to consumers.
Yeah, it looks like Microsoft sold Nokia in 2016, and I think to HMD Global, founded by a Nokia executive.
Sounds legitimate.
And like associated with Foxconn, so...
Oh, that's right.
They're still around,
I don't
kind
know
of.
what they're doing with it, but...
You know, the Nokia headquarters is in
Sweden?
a kind of Espoo, Finland.
Oh, Finland.
Old
Yes, that's right.
Espoo.
Big Finnish company. I wonder what the most successful companies in Finland are.
Well, I could tell you the one for Denmark, but
I've not heard of any of these. Oh, those articles from 2006. List of largest Nordic companies.
well, is Maersk the biggest one?
It's the third biggest.
Ah, okay, I was close.
What about Lego?
Lego is not anywhere on this list that's relevant.
Bummer.
Let's see. Some ones you would have heard. In first place is Equinor in Norway, which is oil and gas. Companies you would have heard of. Fourth is Volvo.
Oh,
Fifth is Ericsson.
Ericsson, right? H&M.
H&M is number 14. Novo Nordisk, which is one of the big pharmaceutical companies, they're number 13. Danske Bank, which maybe you heard of, number 15. Carlsberg Brewery, 19.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Nokia, 20. Yeah, the
So,
list
there you
goes.
go.
Electrolux, 29.
Electrolux.
I didn't even know they were still a thing.
what's Electrolux?
Electrolux was a appliance manufacturer known primarily for vacuum cleaners originally. That, according to Wikipedia, they're the second largest appliance maker by units sold after Whirlpool.
Dope.
And
Whirlpool.
they do all sorts of... Well, they own a lot of sub-brands too, but it's they own Frigidaire now and things like that.
Sounds chilly.
Indeed.
Okay. Anyways, rest in peace, BBM.
You will be remembered? Question mark.
Goodbye.
All right.
Next up, story number 2.
I feel like I have a pretty good idea of where I want to take this, but if anyone else wants to jump in, go for it. But I think next we have to talk about Netflix Shuffle.
Shuffle off, I guess.
We sure can. According to Android Police, in a recent update of their Android app, the fine folks at Netflix seem to be testing 2 new features for the app. Before we get to the random one, let's start with the other one. Play a popular episode. And what it is of shows with a lot of, like The Office, Arrested Development, Our Planet. Netflix will use their ratings to know which are the most popular episodes, and they'll float those to the top first. So rather than just seeing a sequential listing, you will see the most popular episodes at the top. And you'll be able to choose a popular episode. The other thing they're testing is a random episode button in the playback controls once you've started watching a series. They're not doing it on every series, like ones that are heavily serialized, but if, Friends or Parks and Recreation or one of those type of shows, you'll be able to select a random episode.
What do you all think about this?
I could be into it, to be honest, because there are definitely times where I go to Arrested Development and I don't want to pick up where I left off. However, I don't want to start at the beginning either. And I would use this button. However, when it continued, once I finished the episode that it picked for me, I would want it to continue sequentially from there, not
Keep shuffling.
not go to a totally random one. Yeah.
I am aggressively on board with both of these.
All right.
I'm shocked it took them this long to do it. Because for me, I agree, especially when you look at a series with, like a 30 Rock or a Office, or it's over 100 episodes. I never know where to start. And I'm not a good one about jumping in. You got to scroll through a lot of episodes. And I kind of like the idea of them using I'm assuming, big assumption, I wonder how truly random it is, or if it's random among, is it going to choose the few least watched episodes and make you watch them, or is it kind of algorithmically? I'm curious, but even with that, I think it's a great opportunity to float new episodes to the top for shows that have a large catalog. And where I would really like this, looking at the play a popular episode feature, is on things like docu-series. Nothing with a narrative, but I'm trying to think of like a reality show type example.
Or like the salt, fat, acid, heat, like
Any
that
kind
sort
of
of thing.
documentary series where it's like every episode is standalone, but I don't know which ones are good or not. And so play a popular episode with me, be like, all right, this is the one really good one you should watch. Or like Nailed It is a good example of a show where it's like, if you didn't want to watch all of them, what are the couple good ones you can just jump to? I think that's really useful. I like these features. What do you think, Dan?
I am not interested at all in playing a random episode. Because if I'm watching a TV show and I'm comfortable playing it in a random order, that means that I am familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely never want to play, like, I have not exhaustively watched Friends. I would never want to play it in random order until I've seen it in order.
Sure, I agree.
But then, so for a show that I have seen, I feel like I would be annoyed at the continuity errors. Maybe I wouldn't be, but like, here's an episode of Parks and Rec with Chris, and now he's gone. It's like, well, wait, but I felt like I was.
But you know why he's gone.
Yes, but I don't know. It gives me something to hang on to in life. Like, I know how this is going to go. I'm going to watch one while I make dinner every night, and this is like how it's going to...
No, I agree with you, by the way. I listen to CDs, and I know what song is going to come next because I've listened to that CD so much in order. And so I get the value of having a sequence, for sure.
Yeah. But show me a good episode, that I think could be great, either for the scenario Colby outlined of, like, I want to... give me a good 30 Rock episode, RIP 30 Rock on Netflix, and I want to start there, but then I want it to just keep going. Or, as you said, any sort of documentary, whatever, the parts unknown, where there's a bajillion, but, some of them are just okay, some of them are amazing. Yeah, I'm into that.
I'm curious if they'll activate it for all shows or not. We don't know the detail. I think it'd be insane to launch this as an option for every show.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even imagine some of these really serialized shows going completely shuffled. You'd have to be a lunatic.
Game of Thrones.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Something really in depth. So anyway, who knows when it's coming? It's just something they've been testing, so no idea if it'll actually come to a device near you, but keep an eye out. You never know. You might just be watching some random stuff.
You never know.
Crazy hypothesis. Westworld's shuffle doesn't change the experience of the show at all.
Maybe it makes it better. Maybe that's how they want you to watch it.
Right. Maybe there's a permutation where it's all in chronological order.
That would not surprise me at all. Where it's like, you have to build an algorithm to watch it the right way. Like, damn it, Westworld.
Colby, I saw someone on Twitter the other day complaining about how, I think it was iTunes or something like that, where it lists out the episodes starting with the oldest one. They're like, why would you do that? I want the most recently released one first. And I was like, no, you don't. You think you want that.
Yes, you want the most recent unwatched episode first, maybe.
Yeah.
But unwatched being the optimal, the most important adjective. Man.
All right.
Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if I had experienced True Detective like everyone else did.
It was all downhill from there.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, ready for the next story?
Yes.
If I'm just...
we got 2 weeks of news here. We're just powering through them.
If I'm just calling them out, I think now let's do the folding thing.
Okay.
Now let's do the folding thing.
We've
A couple
used our
weeks
way
ago,
into
we
the big
probably had... It was only a couple weeks ago where we talked about the initial reviews of this.
We've talked about it several times throughout its development, announcement, launch, and now unlaunch. We talked about the Galaxy Fold, the $2,000 foldable phone from our friends at Samsung. They began releasing them into the wild as review units, and unfortunately, many of them failed. Two main issues coming with these phones. One, there is apparently on the display itself a very thin, clear film that is a protective layer put on there from Samsung, but apparently a healthy chunk of reviewers thought it was one of those, like, we put the plastic on it when we ship it and you should peel it off. And then they peeled it off and it ruined the phone. It's actually a very important part of the display. That's problem number one. Problem number two is that with that fancy hinge, apparently debris can get into the hinge and under the screen.
Debris? The Arrested Development character?
Exactly. Gets it under the display, and as you're using it, it will crack and break the display. Samsung took the phones back from reviewers and then said they were not announcing it as being available for anyone. It won't hit shelves until sometime in May at the earliest, but they have not committed to any specific time frame. AT&T and T-Mobile were expected to carry the devices, but no words on when they'll be available. The quote from Samsung said, initial findings from the inspection of reported issues on the display show that they could be associated with impact on the top and bottom exposed areas of the hinge. There was also an incident where substances found inside the device affected display performance. They say they're going to take measures to strengthen the display protection. Who knows how much that will require them to change this device.
Here is something that I didn't realize was bothering me about this design until I was reading these stories, is when you say, like, oh, it's a foldable display, what you think is that it's a like a piece of paper or a scroll of parchment. Mm-hmm. You don't want it to be like a door hinge. You want it to be like almost infinitely foldable. You want it to be malleable. And as soon as you put it, like, I don't think there's a way. It's like laptop hinges often have these problems. The hinge in the laptop is its most fragile part in our all metal solid state laptop world that we live in. It's by far the most fragile part, except for Apple's keyboards. But it actually, the problems with a hinge are the same problems that are suffered with Apple's keyboards, because if you get something in the hinge, right, it can break it because you'll just like slam it closed. And so I am not. On the one hand, I'm like, what could they possibly do to, like? I'm not sure that they could make it. It could never be as reliable as a phone without a hinge, right? As soon as it has a hinge and it's not just flexible, then there's a nut and like a little bearing, and it's rotating, and that thing is going to have a lot of force applied to it. I sure hope you don't actually like try to close it the opposite direction. Or I guess, does that work with these? No, it doesn't. Cause I remember thinking that this was cool, but then as soon as I heard the story, it's like, oh, of course this is worse. Like, wait, how could it not be worse?
I just don't understand how this didn't come up. Like, did they not give this phone to anyone to like futz around with? I can see how the screen film thing didn't come up, because I feel like that's a thing that's like, you can imagine like everyone who gets one of these phones knows that that's a thing and just doesn't do it, and don't consider that like a person not in the know would do it. But the debris, everybody's got debris.
Don't we know it? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they didn't give them to people.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, yeah. Maybe it was rushed.
Well, and you know, they had. I know that they showed, because this was, people had a question about the durability of this when they announced it, and they showed those sort of in the lab tests where they have the little robot opening it and closing it and opening it and closing it. That doesn't replicate real world debris. I mean, this really is a true real world danger that is probably very difficult to replicate in a lab.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you're right. This is, to me, this is air power all over again. I mean, this is just a good idea that there's a reason why nobody else in the market is even close to launching one of these things. And it's because the technology is not there yet. It's just not. And so Samsung got ahead of themselves as they've done in other. I remember they said, "Oh, we can definitely put bigger batteries in those Note phones. They'll be fine," and then they all exploded. It's like you can't get so far ahead of yourself that I feel very confident in saying that this phone, at the earliest, will be available in 6 months. At the earliest, and even that would surprise me. It's going to take them a while to go back and really figure out how to make this thing work.
Yep.
I don't think it's a good idea. No.
The foldable phone at all.
I think it needs to be a parchment.
What, you roll it up?
You could if you wanted to.
That would be cool.
Right,
We're
I think
so
it needs
far
to
away
be
from
that
that technology,
flexible.
though.
But maybe we are. I'm just saying I think that's what it needs to be. Just like how the voice assistants are not actually good, in my opinion, until I can actually talk to it. This is like a John Syracuse thing. Until I actually can't tell that I'm not having until I can speak to it conversationally, it'll always feel worse. And it'll always feel a little stilted and a little like I'm molding my brain into the shape that voice assistant X demands. It'll always be bad. And we might be far away from being able to do that, but that is how it gets good. I think with foldable displays, it's the same thing. It needs to be arbitrarily foldable at any point multiple times, yet rigid enough to stand on its own. And if it's just like a folio, I don't think it's gonna do it.
But to me, that's like people who were like, the ovens will never be great until they can cook a turkey in 30 minutes, and then they invented the microwave, and it was like, ovens are still good, it's just microwaves do different things differently. I agree with you that maybe someday we'll get there, but I do think a foldable, I was looking at all the reviews on this device, other than the screen's breaking, was that it's a really compelling form factor. Maybe this isn't the right phone, maybe the technology's not there yet, but it's a compelling form factor, and the more I watch these reviews and the videos on them and all this stuff, all I could think of is, in 2 to 3 years when Apple releases their version of this, I'm going to run out to the store and buy one, because I'm very excited at the possibilities of this. And I agree with you, Dan. I hope one day we get to those, like you see in all like the Marvel movies now, where they got screens and they swipe stuff and they do this, and it's all that science fiction stuff. I agree with you. That's great. We're a long way away from that, unfortunately. So I'll take what I can get today.
But I would not take. I don't think it could be cool enough for me to accept the downsides that would come with it having a mechanical hinge. Because that's such a downside. It's like the Apple keyboard. It's like, okay, it works, but it feels really risky because you might break it. It's just going to be worse, durability wise. And then much like the keyboard, you could make it better by covering it in like a giant keyboard condom, which is going to make it way worse. And the same thing with this phone, you'll get a case for it. It's like, well, then you can't fold it.
Have you seen some of the cases that they've put out for the Fold?
No.
They look so dumb. It's crazy. Because the phone is already, crazy thick. And then you put, and that's what they did, an OtterBox case for it. It was like, there's no way it fits in your pocket. Absolutely. You're going to need a bag to carry it. I couldn't believe it.
Delightful.
Actually, I'm just reminded of something that'll take us way off topic.
Do it.
Can I enlist your help in something?
Oh no.
So, I'm going to a conference, much like the one I went to in December, but this time it's in Barcelona, which will be slightly better. And also, what will be slightly better is that we will have a booth. And so, Sean, you've been to some conferences.
Yes, and
so
I've been involved in conference planning.
Ah, this is exactly what I wanted. So, here is my basic idea for our booth. I think the good components of a booth are that there is a non-interactive thing that you can take and just have that serves as a reminder of here's that thing that you saw.
Freebie.
A freebie. It could just be a piece of paper,
a handout.
A handout. Maybe it's a sticker or a T-shirt, but probably not. Probably just a handout.
Sure.
There needs to be a thing on the booth that humans can use to talk mouth words at people, and it is an aid. So in our case, that's a TV screen. Like we can, if someone's asking a question, we can like bring up our product on the TV screen and give a demo.
Sure.
But then I think there's the third kind of heat, as Jack Donaghy would say, is the thing that entices you to come over in the first place. But since we are not playing a numbers game, I don't want it to be like, hey, win a free Nintendo Switch, or spin the wheel and win a prize. It should be something that will filter out a little bit for the kind of people we want to talk to. Mm-hmm. So here's what I want is a giant, satisfying, like think the Staples Easy button, but bigger and like ka-chunk, just like a big emergency stop button almost. This has no label, except maybe it says push this button. And then they push the button and our product is on the screen and it does something, but it does not explain what happened. With the idea being that like you could walk by and push it and then be like, meh, and keep going. And it's like, okay, cool, they pushed our button, like better than nothing. But hopefully what we want to get is the people who push the button, they're like, well, wait, what? I saw some stuff happen. Like, what did that do? And it's like, well, you see, like, it caused X to happen, and our product solves these problems, and we're surfacing this information. So is that, Sean and Colby, is that a crazy idea? And then I guess that's my first question.
First of all, I work extremely closely with the person at my company who plans all of our events, like our shows, and I'm going to share this idea with her because I'm just going to. So I just want to say that because that'll be fun. Dan, that is either, and I mean this seriously, a truly fantastic idea or a total disaster, and I truly do not know which. Because I can see it so radically going, and because I'm just thinking like, how would that play out? On one hand, I'm like, the idea that you would have, I love the idea of the mystery element of it. The fact that it's not like you push the button and win a prize. It's you push the button and you're like, so what? I love that idea of it.
And it's easy to push a button. And the other downfall of a lot of these things, like, hey, come enter to win the PS4. But by entering, you're giving us your email. We're going to email the shit out of you after this conference. Like, no, you just push the button.
Yeah.
Just push the button.
My only concern is if from a distance they can't tell what it is, which I guess is part of the gimmick, I'm concerned it will look really gimmicky. It will look like a game show. It will if there's no indication as to what's going on, I think people will naturally be like, oh, it's some sort of flashy. I don't know how you communicate. Like I wouldn't do like a giant button because I think that's too big. I think you should almost do... I'm just trying to think.
I don't think that I can... Because I need to buy this button, right? Like, I don't have the facility to create such a button. So, like, I imagine the biggest button I can get is, like, smaller than the size of my face. Like, I imagine that is the largest button that I could buy from some, like, Chinese electronics distributor. I imagine. Like...
I think
so I don't think it's actually going to be comically large.
You could also probably get a lever.
I was thinking like the Frankenstein lever.
Yeah.
That'd be cool
pretty
too.
Cool.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think maybe it shouldn't say nothing. Like what would be awesome? Like imagine this, John. You work at a roofing company. Imagine you had a roof in your booth, and someone could pull the lever, and it just starts raining on the roof. You're like, look, this is our roof, and like. Here's the roof part, and there's no water underneath it.
Oh, yeah. People do
like,
that.
I think that would be what we want. Is like, crash the server. Like, ka-chunk. It's like, look, we saw the server crash, and things are happening on the screen. And, oh, you can click around in the UI, too. Like, here you go.
But I don't think the button/lever is what you need. That shouldn't be what gets people to the booth from across the room.
I don't think that across the room is really an achievable goal at an 8,000 person conference.
I disagree. Because
okay.
I think with the right combination of colors and signage and overall appearance of the booth, you can accomplish a lot. Because a lot of companies forget about that. They worry about the little things like the handouts and that kind of stuff. And sure, you get people when they get, but you got to get them to the booth in the first place. So, what are you doing in terms of big signage? Not flashy signage, but company signage.
I think
colors.
We have brand design, colors, and it's green on like white, I think. And behind us is our giant logo, and then on the front of the booth is, I believe, some verbiage about like what our product does, like understand, update. Like there's the third like pillar of the product.
Is it lit? Is your booth lit in any way?
Not. No. It seemed like they told us, like, here is the front of your booth, send us a PDF. Here is the back of your booth, send us a PDF.
Gotcha.
And I'm not sure. And they also let us rent a TV screen that is attached to the back of our booth.
And those are crazy expensive, which drives me
But
nuts.
you also don't have any options, so.
Yeah. Oh, no, they own you.
Just like the food at the conferences, you don't have a choice.
Oof. eBurger80 in the Twitch chat says you should get a "Don't Panic" button. Can do a little cross promotion.
There you go. My boss would love that.
If you're willing to do that,
That's my podcast.
I will legitimately send. I'm trying to think. I will send like 20 "Don't Panic" hats with you to Barcelona, and you can hand them out.
I was gonna say we could sponsor the button.
Yes.
There we go. Windmill is sponsoring KubaCon, and they are sponsored by Don't Panic the podcast.
And then we just have to get a sponsor, and then the whole thing works out fine.
I think we just reinvented capitalism.
Yeah. The Don't Panic button, presented by Energizer.
Presented by Capital One.
Yes.
Don't panic, your money's in safe hands.
Be like, what does this have to do with computers? I'm confused. Don't worry, we all are. Sounds fun, Dan.
Thanks.
I think you're going to do great. And
All
hopefully
right, well,
we get
thank you for the feedback.
we
I
get a
look
full
forward
report when you return.
It's not for another month, so
Okay.
you have some time. I look forward to your coworkers' feedback.
Yes, I am definitely going to say, hey, in our next big show, can we do a giant button that you push and no one knows what it does when you push it? And I have absolutely no
I think the key is that it has to do something.
Yes. Oh, yeah, no.
Like, you have to push it, and then you do notice that something happened. And then that prompts you to ask, like, more. It can't just be a button, you push it, and nothing happens.
Well, for example,
You're just going to really piss people off.
when you induction weld our plates, I mean, you heat the plate up to 500 degrees, it looks like nothing happened, but it did. So there you go. You just welded that plate, sir. Did I? Yes, you did.
Oh, my God. That would be so cool.
You gotta
Maybe
get
I
into
should
the
just
industry.
make a roofing company booth and then be welding shit and stuff, and people would come over.
Dan, I gotta tell you, from my experience, it's crazy lucrative to own a roofing business. I cannot tell you. I've partied with these guys, unfortunately, and they are young and they are very wealthy, and it is an out-of-control industry.
And their houses are dry.
Oh, God, yes. That is exactly
Insulated
the idea.
and dry.
That's how they got all that money.
Well,
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. We're here to solve some problems. We've got time for one more story.
I think, Colby, unless there's one you're dying to get to,
nope. Bring
I
us
think
home.
It has to be Disney Plus.
Stellar. I love it. Let's bring it in. And actually, there's a little addendum to this, but let's start with the big news. Disney Plus. We finally have the details. We've been talking about it seemingly forever, and now we actually know a couple things. It will launch on November 12th, and it will be available for $6.99 a month, or $69.99 for the year. We got a first look at the interface. It's gray and boring, but it gets you to the content you're looking for. Disney Plus will be available to stream through smart TVs, web browsers, and on tablets, mobile devices, and game consoles. They already have deals with Roku and Sony, among others, to make that happen. All Disney Plus content will be available for offline download, and they're promising 4K HDR presentation where applicable. Disney Plus subscribers will be able to set up individual profiles for those they live with, including parental controls for children's profiles. And Disney Plus will be divided into 5 hubs based on their various franchises: Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic. They also announced a number of new projects coming to Disney Plus, including some Marvel TV series, one based on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and another based on Loki and Hawkeye, and another with Scarlet Witch and Vision. There's also going to be a Monsters, Inc. Animated show, a High School Musical show, a Star Wars series called The Mandalorian. The Disney Vault program is ending. It'll have on a number of all of the Disney Vault films will be on there. There is an interesting, I'll say one last stat before I wrap up my blathering. The streaming service will have about 500 films from the Disney library in addition to 7,000 episodes of Disney TV. Compare that to Netflix, which has 4,335 movies and 1,197 TV series. So, much fewer. So, there you go.
I think it's interesting to compare this, although the Apple thing doesn't have a price, to compare it to the Apple announcement last month. Mm-hmm. And I think on the whole, I am more excited about this lineup than I was about Apple stuff. And it seems like it's cheaper than Netflix.
Yes, it's cheaper than almost everything.
Yeah. I think if you have a kid, this is a no-brainer.
Certainly sounds pretty appealing.
Well, I think, Disney made an extremely smart bet many years ago, which is paying dividends, which is people are more interested in existing IPs than they are in new and developing ones. Now, it's not an exclusive argument, but I think in general that's true these days. And that's why I think Disney, at a $6.99 a month for this series featuring all the stuff you already like and want to watch. Netflix, I was on Netflix the other day, just scrolling around, which I rarely do, and I couldn't find anything because there was so much stuff, and I hadn't heard of any of it. They do a new show every 5 minutes. It's insane. There's no... It's so much easier for me to go to Disney Plus and be like, oh, I know what all these movies are. I know what all these TV shows are.
Yeah. Remember there was a time when it was exciting when there was a new show on Netflix? It was like, oh my God, there's a new show on Netflix. I should check it out.
That was like 2013, 2014. And then
God.
I know.
This like Cambrian explosion happened. And I couldn't even... every day there are shows that say Netflix in the lower right-hand corner that I've never heard of, and then they disappear, and I have never heard about them again.
I'm convinced, legitimately, because I look at the descriptions of some of those shows, and I'm like, who is watching this? Who is this for? And I'm like, an algorithm made this show. And I don't know if anyone's watching it. I'm so confused.
Yeah. I don't know, man. But this sounds like cool. I didn't realize National Geographic was involved.
Mm-hmm. That was part
I don't know.
I believe that was part of Fox when they bought them. And more Fox stuff. This is going to have the entire Simpsons catalog in it. So they're going to be adding Fox stuff to it as time goes on as they work through some of those rights issues as well.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah, I feel like this is all... It's so many movies, and presumably new movies will be added.
Absolutely.
I do wonder, like, at what cadence, but, like, what I end up doing is I never go to the movies anymore, but I do, like, rent a movie on iTunes once in a while with some frequency.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And this is, like, the same price as that. Maybe it's, $2 more?
Yeah, and you get all those movies and shows. Yeah. I don't know if any of the new original stuff is going to work, to be honest. But I don't think it has to for this to be successful.
Right.
I mean, Disney, I think for the last couple of years, including this year, has been the #1 movie studio at the box office. They've released all the big movies. If they just put those on here, I think that's worth the $6.99 alone, never mind the new original stuff.
Toads.
Yeah, I'm looking at Netflix right now, and if they're trending now thing, so looking at both trending now and popular on Netflix, let's see, how do I do this? Of like the first 5, of the first 6 that they show, 4 out of 6 of the popular on Netflix are Netflix originals, and of the trending now, it's again 4 out of 6. Of the ones that I've watched recently, 5 out of 6 are Netflix originals. not Netflix originals necessarily, but like Great British Baking Show is not a Netflix original. Spoiler alert, that's my pick. But it does say Netflix in the upper left, whereas Parks and Recreation does not.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited about Disney Plus. I'll wait and see how the Star Wars thing is before I buy it probably, but fingers crossed.
Well, it's going to be worth a shot at $6.99. One other thing I'll mention is that having 4K is really interesting because if you're a 4K enthusiast, you know that Disney makes it very hard to get their stuff in 4K currently. A lot of movie studios, you can rent it from a couple different platforms, including Amazon. Disney stuff you can't get in 4K anywhere. So the fact that they're going to have it in 4K in this is a real selling point. The other thing I'll mention is that Bob Iger, head of Disney, did tease that they would likely combine subscriptions to Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu, of which they actually became an even more majority owner. They just bought out Comcast share for over $1 billion. So now they're the majority owner. They'll own 66% when they're done. And combining them into a single plan, which I think is even more interesting.
Yeah. As long as I don't have to have ads. I hate the ads. I don't want ads.
Agreed. TV how it was meant to be. It's kind of crazy that TV was essentially invented to sell ads. And now the ads are going away and it's just the TV left. Isn't that neat?
For now.
They'll find some. Well, it's like Hulu's putting ads in when you pause the show, and they'll find innovative. I'm sure Disney trailers will roll before you watch the movies on Disney Plus. They'll find some way to.
I forget where I was hearing this, but can you imagine if, like, why, if the ads are so valuable, why isn't CBS All Access free with ads? You just shove as many ads in there as you would get on cable. And then all of these little networks would be cutting out the cable companies entirely.
It's a good question. I could speculate.
I would be interested in your speculation.
My first thought is that selling and implementing an ad platform in a streaming service is probably a difficulty that may not be worth what you're getting back in those ads, because the viewership is so different and smaller on a streaming service that you'll make money off the ads, but it's got to be nickels and dimes compared to what you get on network. And so to them, they're probably like, look, we're making enough with the monthly subscriptions that it's not worth the time and effort. I mean, we saw Hulu had ads for years, and they've just moved farther and farther away from them to more expensive monthly plans.
Did they... I have to imagine that, well, from what I know about economics, that almost everyone uses the cheapest Hulu plan.
I don't know about that.
That has been proven to be true. It is how these pricing tiers work. You have your low tier, which almost everyone gets. You have your mid tier, which is designed to upsell you to the high tier, and like more people will get the high tier than the mid tier, but it's dwarfed by everyone in the low tier because people just want to pay as little as possible.
Does Hulu still have a plan where you get ads?
Yeah.
I'm looking at their website, and they do not indicate that.
Oh, I thought I had to sign up for Hulu for something recently.
Because there's the $5.99 plan where it says get unlimited access with limited or no ads. And the limited shows are... But most shows, in my experience, don't have ads. The limited ones are grandfathered in back when it used to be an ad-focused service.
Okay, you could be right.
That was just my experience. And then the pricier pack has the live TV.
Right.
But I think these companies hate ads. I don't think they want to do ads. Ads are a giant cost in half, because then you have to negotiate each ad individually with each company. There has to be like a whole resource behind it.
So then what you're saying is that the ads are just done.
No, there'll be ads, just not on these video services. Because the thing is, there are going to be shows people don't want to pay for.
Well, YouTube.
Exactly. Exactly. You're 100% right. That's where ads will live on services like these services that advertise them, like was it Pluto TV and Tubi and some of these other services that are free and they're not because you watch Crackle, and it's because you're watching ads. The Roku channel. I mean, there's a ton of them that just I don't think anyone is like, it's all old movies and stuff. I'm not going to watch that much. I'm not going to pay for it, but the ads are okay. That's where the ads will live on these premium services, these high end services. I also think we'll see a lot more bundling, right? Because we saw Spotify and Hulu are bundling and. I think we'll see a lot more of that as well.
Also, if you click through on the Hulu website, the $5.99 one, it gives you two options. One is the like $11.99 one that is the no ads one.
Okay.
And then the other one is $5.99.
I wonder how few ads there are in the limited TV or limited ads tier.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Good question. All right, well, we'll try that when it comes out in November, but until then, we've got some other business to do here. It's time for Picks, the part of the show where we each bring something we want to share with the world. We've got quite an eclectic mix here in the rundown, and he's at the bottom, so we'll put him at the top. Colby, what are you bringing this week?
Oh, yeah. I recently bought the game Civilization 6 on the Nintendo Switch. And it is very fun. It's pretty much like exactly every other Civilization game that you've ever played. But it runs on the Switch and you can play it anywhere, which is super cool.
How are the controls?
They're okay. Like, it's kind of annoying sometimes to like... The most confusing thing is that like there are certain things you do with the sticks and there are certain things you do with the D-pad, and like if you do the wrong one you end up like in a whole different place than you intended to. I keep forgetting this, but like you're supposed to be able to use the touchscreen on this Switch to do stuff too, which I feel like I read a review and they were like, use the touchscreen, it's way easier. But I haven't really done that at all.
I'm having fun looking through the rundown here to see every time you guys have picked Civilization on the show, including Colby, who picked what I think is an expansion pack on January 11th, 2016, and Dan, who picked Civ 5 on February 10th, 2014.
Yeah, I skipped 5.
Dan was a fan, apparently.
Dan's a fan. Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a good way to kill like an infinite amount of time.
That's for sure.
Back when I picked that, there were a couple of times where I stayed up till like an unhealthy hour on a work night. Because it's always that. It's like, okay, I'll do one more turn. And it's like, okay, I'll do one more turn. Okay, I'll do one more turn. And then like 6 hours have gone by.
You're like a kid. Just one more, Mom. Just one more.
Yeah. It hurts.
Neat. Well, be like Colby. Stay up through all hours of the night playing Civilization 6, available now for the Switch and I'm sure other platforms. $59.99 on Switch, but get it wherever you play games. Okay. I'm going to go next. We'll go a little out of order, and then Dan can take us home. Guys, I have a lawn. And it turns out they don't just grow on their own. It's kind of like a child. You have to feed it and water it and care for it. And it's a lot of work. Kind of a bummer.
Believe it. Yeah.
But it's also 2019, so we're getting into the future here, and I've discovered this fantastic app, My Lawn, from the folks at Scott's Miracle Grow. You know, Scott's the people who make the fertilizers and such. They've got this great mobile app for iPhone and Android, and you can either use any company's fertilizer, or you can do what I did, which is you get a 4-pack of fertilizer to use throughout the year from spring to fall. And you put all the information in the app. You put in your location, you put in information about what products of theirs you have, what your lawn looks like, and they create a custom lawn care plan in the app. They tell you exactly when to put down the fertilizers. They actually measure the weather in your area and will say whether or not your lawn has enough water and should you water your lawn. It will measure your lawn to make sure that you're putting down the right amount of fertilizer. It can tell you if you need additional weed, feed, seed, grub, and weed treatments. You can even reach out to them for customer care and some lawn care tips. And it's free. It just comes as part of the package. So I was buying the fertilizer anyway. So I'm going to try the app. The app's really cool. It tells I got to put down fertilizer this week. And I know that because of the app. So if you have a lawn and you're going to fertilize it anyway, I would check out the My Lawn app. It's free. And try it out. The water thing is really neat because knowing... You have to be really careful when you put down fertilizer. You got to make sure the lawn is properly watered. Otherwise, you will literally burn it. The chemicals in the fertilizer will burn your lawn if you don't have enough water. And so the app right here, it says I've had 1.91 inches of rainfall in the last 7 days, so I'm good. I don't have to water it. But
wow.
But you can see it says ideal date to apply, April 19th through May 17th. It tells you what product to put down. It's neat. So anyway, check it out if you got a lawn.
Nifty.
Use it.
Oh man, I forgot. I got a new Bluetooth button
Ooh.
that I meant to try out for the show tonight, and I totally forgot to try it.
Which button?
I got the one that talked about in Dubai Friday, the flick button. What I want to press the button to record in the health app that I drank a glass of water.
Nice.
Because why do I not record it? Because I take out your phone, swipe up, navigate to the thing. Maybe you set up a Siri shortcut, in which case it's open the phone, swipe left, scroll down, press a button. I just want to be at my desk and just like, boop, press it.
You got to hook it up to some kind of like speaker or air horn or something that
Well, one of their
did
default button integrations is, of course, the fart noise that plays on your phone. So
yeah.
Classic.
Does Dan have gas today? No, he just drank a lot of water. I like that. All right, Dan, what are you doing here? What do you got?
Okay, I watched while I was passed out, or right before I passed out when we were going to be doing the show last week. I was watching the Great British Bake Off, which you may have heard of, and it's kind of like a reality show, and the premise is there are all these bakers in a giant tent out in the middle of the English countryside, and they are baking stuff, and there's two judges, one's really nice and one's kind of mean but still really nice by American standards, and they bake stuff, and it's all super wholesome, and you learn. I don't really know anything about baking, so I've also been learning a lot. I don't even know what some of these things are that they're making. Never mind like how fermentation works and how to deal with cultures and so on and so on. So been really enjoying it. It is on the Netflix. Yeah, have either of you watched this?
I watched the first season.
Okay.
Yes. I've seen a couple of seasons.
All right.
It actually did get me excited for baking. I made a zucchini bread this past weekend, and I've been trying to bake more.
Oh.
So, and you're right,
Cool,
Dan.
that sounds cool.
It's fun that it's British baking because, the confections over there are not the same as they are here.
Yeah.
So you do see some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
By
I
the
guess
way,
that's a good point.
Do you know why it's called the Great British Bake Off in Britain, but here they have to change it to Great British Baking Show?
No, I was trying to figure that out.
Oh, well, here's a fun fact for you. In the United States, the Pillsbury Company owns the trademark on the term bake-off. And so they wouldn't get sued. They had to drop that part and just call it the Great British Baking Show.
That's horrific.
USA. USA.
America.
Hell yeah. Sweet. Well, that's an eclectic mix of picks. And after this eclectic show, guys, we're done. We're strictly out of time.
All right.
We've done it. Stick a fork in us. We're finished. We didn't even get time to talk about your thoughts on the NFL schedule release. We'll have to do that next week. But I do want to thank everyone out there for joining us. Before I mention some stuff about this show, I do want to quickly plug, we are continuing our Shaken Not Stirred deep dive on James Bond over at Up for Debate. We did not do a show last week. Matt was traveling. But this week, I am truly excited because it is our Leftovers Bond episode. We're doing Lazenby's on Her Majesty's Secret Service. We're doing the Sean Connery non-canon Never Say Never Again, which is bonkers. And we're doing both Timothy Dalton movies. And I have aggressive opinions on these that I am confident will surprise Matt and the folks listening. So you're going to want to list that episode at UpForDebate.tv or wherever you get podcasts coming later this week.
Wait, was Honor Majesty's Secret Service on that list too?
Yes. Yep.
I will actually watch that one. I had never seen that one. And after we did the last episode that I was on, I watched it.
It's very different.
It was like a real movie.
Yes, that is a very
Just
good way
crazy.
to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're characters in this movie with feelings.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be a fun one, so check that out. This show, however, is available at don'tpanic.io or wherever you get podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, now on Spotify. The YouTube version is available as well, but just go to our website, don'tpanic.io. The shows will be there. The links to all our picks will be there, which is really nice. You can just click and check that out. And, of course, you can follow us at Don't Panic Show on Twitter or email us don'tpanicshow@gmail.com. We will be back next time with more tech news and fun adventures. On behalf of Colby and Dan, I am Sean. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time on another Don't Panic.